All right, so this is part 2 of Venus in Libra, this transit 2022. I made 2 separate videos because the other one kind of, went a little bit longer, long-winded. So that's what I want to do, just the transit. That first part was the transit, so go back and watch that video. This video is what is specific to 2022, the aspects going on. So the first one is on October 1st. Venus is forming a 180-degree angle in opposition to Jupiter. And so Venus and Jupiter are both benefic, both very positive, bring opportunities and bring blessings and bring joy to life. And, one area of this, could love and joy be hard to find? Could too much be too much? Well, let's focus on that. Maybe you may not know what you truly value, what's important to you, and what, again, brings you love and joy. But, really, this is wonderful. This is super positive if you want to socialize, if you want to have fun, if you want to go connect with somebody, with whatever it may be. If you want to, go on, plan a trip to, something gorgeous like, a scenic outlook or, party, through a party of some kind, then this would be very, it would be very favorable. And you may really find that, it goes well and it's just the right energy for this. So, give yourself permission to, socialize with someone else. Have fun in all the ways. Paint the town red, maybe. But know when too much is too much, because there are limits to things and there are moderations. And so I'm going to be honest, if you're at work or if something, serious comes up, then, where is the good in that? Where is the joy and adventure and, fun in whatever you're doing? Even if it may be work, even if it may be, if you're doing accomplishing work, maybe that, satisfaction can come in when you're progressing through your work. And so, that other point is to find good and abundance in whatever is finding, again, what's positive about it, what's enjoyable about it, and look to, how much you have, all that you have in this moment now. It's not about the past. It's not about the future. It's in this moment. I kind of, feel guilty because I have used my phone and computer when I have not necessarily felt the most secure about using it. I've made videos, I've made a couple live streams, and there's a part of me that feels guilty about that. But that was in the past, and it's not now. It's not this moment. So, what is there to be, what is there to appreciate in this moment? We have on October 14th, October 14th, let's just talk about that. What's going to be going on that day? Well, it's going to be a couple of days after the full moon in Aries. We have Venus trining Saturn. And when you think about the combination of Venus and Saturn, the simple answer is getting serious upon relationships. Like what do you value? Getting honest about what you value. And putting your attention there. That's where you're, putting your aim there. Especially if it's something artistic, like artistic hobby, playing guitar, playing piano, painting, any new project that you want to set off the ground. It's wonderful for going to an art gallery opening. And Saturn rules Capricorn. And it really is about, just the refined, the high quality, the high taste, the high in items and deluxe luxuries that you can, receive. Because Capricorn as a sign is really, wanting excellence and wanting things to be at their best. So, what is at the top, what's not, mediocre, halfway, cutting corners, Saturn rules Capricorn, the sign of, again, excellence and high quality. And Venus is relationships. So it's a good time to become very disciplined and focused on how much pleasure you're intaking and what needs to happen to improve partnerships. Say that the two partners are not communicating as they should. You're not communicating with this partner, or this partner isn't communicating, or taking on too much of a load, or not spending enough time with the wife. The issues that may come about, it's time to focus and talk about it and make a plan, Stan, as to how you're going to fix this. And, what's not working that I know in the long term is not going to work. So, what needs to happen in order for the relationship to be more long-lasting, what's dying away, what's just not gonna stick around too long, what's gonna get stale or dry. Maybe there has to be a change to sort of, make the relationship more exciting and, dynamic and fresh and new. Then on October the 18th, we have Venus making a trine to Mars. Now, September, we've had on the 16th, Venus squaring Mars, a very difficult conversation in which we need to not be, too impulsive and, tone down the flames of passion and, those limits there. But now it's more positive because Venus is in Libra, Mars is in Gemini, and both of those trine each other. They're both air signs, intellectual, communicative, logical, very mental signs. So, some themes. This is very, this is a wonderful to sort of put your ambitions on the table. Be ambitious, show your strength, show your passion in the other person. Doing something, like creating a memory that is, something physical, like, going outside, walking around, going out into the woods, having a challenge, like, today I'm going to, we're going to go and climb a mountain or something. And this doesn't have to be literally climbing a mountain, but, figuratively. Okay, like, there's a challenge, and I'm to sort of rise to that challenge, prove to the other, proving how capable I am to the other person, and also leadership, not being afraid to be honest or, um, um, you know, blunt and forthwith and, righteous on, um, what you want to see and, um, you know, and what you feel would be right to occur in a relationship. So another thing is if you want to lead a business, great for that as well. Venus, or like I see those models where, people are sitting at the table and then somebody comes up and then presents a presentation that everybody else listens. Like, I know how to be a good candidate for this, and I have a plan that will, revolutionize and get more sales or whatever. So, stepping up to the plate with that. And then on October 20th, we have one last big thing happening to sort of, finish it up. And that is Venus squaring Pluto. And squares are 90 degrees. Venus and Pluto coming together in a very difficult conversation. So now things may feel more tense or intense. Your sensitivity may be up. The volatility of reacting to something may be up. The high emotions, you may be more sensitive to people's energies that drain you, exhaust you, make you feel low in terms of self-worth and low adequacy that you're doing a good job. And so maybe somebody wavers away, moves away from, separates, that you don't feel like, you can rely and trust the person, how secure that they are, when it comes to committing to you um, and, you know, you may be more sensitive toward any kind of power struggle, power dynamic. If someone, bossing you around, telling you to do this or that, or, controlling, and you feel like they have that power that you don't, and you feel dimmed and very just, again, drained. And kind of suppressed in terms of you expressing yourself. I would say to stand up and find the courage and stand in your power, get past all those emotions that you feel like you've been just dropped down into feeling, and say, no, I'm not going to have this happen. I'm not going to feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. This is not right. Once you bring words to it, once you talk about it, once you, voice it, then things can become so much easier, so much smoother, so much more, true peace and love can be found and received at the end of the day, because you were honest, and because you said, okay, no, this is not going to happen, and I'm being honest about this. So standing up, plucking up the courage, and getting past the shyness, or the barriers or blocks or tension, or feeling inhibited. And also, if an energy vampire manipulating you emotionally into doing something that you're exhausted to do and needing to draw the healthy boundaries and take a break and replenish. That's another thing too. Manipulation. So, yeah. So I thought I'd insert that in there, but okay. So I may talk more about that, another time. I may write a post about it, make a video about it. Who knows? But that is all for Venus in Libra 2022. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell, and share this video, and I will see you in the next one.